In the silence of your mind, you meet the power that can change your entire life. There comes a moment in everyone's journey when the noise of the world becomes too heavy, too constant, too loud to hear your own heartbeat. The voices of doubt, fear, expectations, and comparisons crowd your thoughts until you can't tell what's real and what's just an echo of someone else's opinion. But when you step back, when you stop reacting, when you allow yourself to be still, something extraordinary happens. The noise fades, and what remains is you, the real you, the one beneath the masks, beneath the noise, beneath the layers of distraction. It's in that quiet space where your true power lies, where your strength, your vision, and your direction are born. Most people spend their lives running from silence because they're afraid of what they'll hear when everything else stops. But silence isn't your enemy, it's your invitation. It invites you to face yourself, to hear your inner truth, to see your reflection not in the world's mirror, but in the calm of your own thoughts. In that silence, you begin to hear the soft whispers of your intuition, the quiet nudges of your spirit that have been guiding you all along. That's where transformation begins, not in noise, not in chaos, but in the still, deep moments where you reconnect with the power that created you. Think about it. Every great idea, every breakthrough, every life-changing decision has come from someone who dared to step away from the noise and think quietly. When you think quietly, you begin to see patterns. You start to notice what truly matters. You start to feel the difference between what the world tells you is important and what your soul actually needs. The silence clears the fog, and clarity begins to rise. You realize that most of what you've been chasing was never meant for you, that your real fulfillment doesn't come from proving yourself, but from understanding yourself. When your mind is quiet, your inner voice grows louder, not loud in volume, but in truth. It speaks with authority, with purpose, with wisdom. It tells you where to go, who to trust, what to let go of. But you can only hear it when you stop letting the world fill your head with noise. You can't hear direction in chaos. You can't find peace in confusion. The power to change your life has always been inside you, waiting for you to quiet down long enough to listen. There's a stillness that teaches you what no book, no teacher, no experience can. In stillness, you learn to listen not for words, but for feelings. You learn to pay attention to what your energy responds to. You start noticing how your body reacts to truth, how it relaxes when something feels right, how it tightens when something feels wrong. You begin to trust that your intuition is not just an idea, but a guiding force. That still, small voice inside you knows more than all the noise outside ever could. Quiet thinking doesn't mean doing nothing. It's not about idleness, it's about alignment. It's where your thoughts align with your purpose. It's where clarity replaces confusion and strength replaces fear. The moment you sit in silence, you begin to see the next steps of your life unfold, not because they were hidden, but because you finally stopped running long enough to notice them. In that quiet, you realize that every answer you've been searching for has always been within reach. You've just been too distracted to hear it. People underestimate the power of a quiet mind. The world teaches us to always be doing something, scrolling, talking, planning, moving. But your biggest breakthroughs don't come when you're busy. They come when you pause. When you give your mind the gift of stillness, you give your soul room to breathe. You start seeing solutions instead of problems. You start feeling gratitude instead of stress. You start remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. That's where real power comes from, self-awareness born out of silence. It's not easy to be still. It's not easy to sit with your own thoughts. The moment you try, everything you've been suppressing begins to rise, the fears, the regrets, the doubts, the things you tried to bury under busyness. But facing those things is exactly what makes you stronger. Silence doesn't just calm you, it cleanses you. It strips away the unnecessary and shows you what's real. It teaches you that peace isn't the absence of noise, it's the presence of understanding. When you learn to think quietly, you learn to see differently. You start seeing challenges as lessons, setbacks as redirections, pain as growth. You start realizing that nothing around you needs to change until something within you does. That shift from reacting to reflecting changes everything, because when you act from a quiet mind, you act from wisdom, not impulse. You act from confidence, not insecurity. You act from purpose, not pressure. Silence becomes your teacher. It reminds you that strength doesn't always roar, sometimes it whispers. It reminds you that confidence isn't loud, it's calm. It reminds you that real change doesn't happen when you shout at the world, but when you listen to your own soul. That's where the foundation of transformation is built, in the quiet space where truth meets awareness. Every time you choose to be quiet when you could complain, every time you pause to think instead of react, every time you breathe instead of break down, you grow. Quiet thinking trains you to take control of your energy, your emotions, and your perspective. It gives you back the power that you've been handing to circumstances, people, and situations that don't deserve it. In silence, you stop being a victim of life and become a creator of it. You begin to understand that your thoughts shape your world. What you think about, you bring about. And when your thinking is quiet, focused, and intentional, your actions become powerful, your results become meaningful, and your life begins to align with your deepest purpose. You stop chasing what doesn't serve you and start attracting what's meant for you. That's the magic of silence. It turns chaos into clarity, confusion into confidence, and frustration into freedom. There's something sacred about being alone with your thoughts. In that solitude, you rediscover your strength. You stop needing validation. You stop comparing yourself. You stop rushing. You start moving with intention. You start walking in alignment. You start trusting that you don't need to have all the answers right now. You just need to be quiet long enough to hear them when they come. In silence, you also meet humility. You realize how much energy you've wasted trying to control everything. You learn to surrender, to let life flow, to trust that everything is working for your good even when it doesn't feel like it. Quiet thinking teaches patience, not the kind that waits passively, but the kind that prepares actively. It gives you the wisdom to know when to act and when to wait. The more you practice thinking quietly, the more you'll see your life shift. You'll notice that you no longer react to negativity. You'll stop letting other people's chaos invade your peace. You'll stop chasing noise and start choosing peace. You'll begin to understand that silence is not weakness, it's discipline. It's control, it's power under calm. When you cultivate silence, you cultivate mastery, mastery of self, mastery of emotion, mastery of thought. You learn that your mind is your most powerful tool, but only if you train it to be still. In stillness, you rise above the noise, you rise above fear, you rise above limitation. You begin to live, not just exist. Thinking quietly changes the way you see the world because it changes the way you see yourself. You stop looking for answers outside and start finding them within. You start realizing that peace isn't something you chase, it's something you create. And when you live from that quiet center, you move differently, you speak differently, you love differently, you lead differently. The silence inside you becomes a compass. It directs you, it grounds you, it reminds you that you are more powerful than your circumstances, stronger than your doubts, and wiser than your fears. The silence isn't empty, it's full of potential, full of creation, full of the power to change your entire life. Quiet moments shape loud victories. Every powerful transformation begins in a space nobody else can see, the quiet space where thoughts become vision and vision becomes purpose. Most people think success is built on noise, on hustle, on always being in motion. But what they don't realize is that the greatest strength is born in stillness. The quiet moments, the ones when nobody's watching, when there's no applause, no audience, and no recognition, are the moments that shape who you become. It's in those unseen hours where the foundation for greatness is built. The loud victories that people celebrate are simply the echoes of the quiet moments when you refused to give up, when you kept showing up, when you chose discipline over distraction. The world glorifies results, but it rarely honors the process. People see the spotlight but never the struggle. They admire the victory but overlook the silence that made it possible. It's easy to cheer for the outcome. It's harder to understand the preparation. The truth is, the quiet hours, the late nights, the early mornings, the time spent reflecting, planning, and rebuilding, those are the moments that separate the average from the exceptional. When you sit in quiet determination, working on yourself, refining your skills, feeding your mind, and strengthening your spirit, you're preparing for victories so loud they'll echo far beyond your imagination. Quiet moments are where character is built. When nobody is clapping for you, when there's no praise, when you're tempted to quit, but you keep going anyway, that's where resilience is born. The loud victory you dream of doesn't start with a crowd. It starts with a decision. It starts in silence when you look at your reflection and decide that you will not let your circumstances define you. You decide that even though the world may not see your effort, you will still give your best. You decide that your worth isn't measured by attention but by growth. That kind of quiet commitment builds unshakable power. Silence has a way of refining your focus. When you step back from the noise, you can see things clearly. You realize that not every opinion matters, not every distraction deserves your energy, and not every delay means denial. Quiet moments teach you patience. They teach you that timing matters, that progress isn't always visible, and that growth often hides beneath the surface until it's ready to bloom. Just like a seed that spends months underground before it breaks through the soil, your quiet effort will eventually produce visible results. But you have to trust the silence. You have to keep nurturing your dream even when there's no sign of life yet. When you learn to value the quiet, you stop chasing validation. You stop seeking permission. You stop needing people to see what you're doing to believe it's worth something. You start understanding that real power doesn't need to announce itself. It just grows slowly and consistently until the world can't ignore it anymore. The quiet moments teach you to rely on your inner compass, to believe in your vision even when nobody else does. They teach you to find strength in solitude, wisdom in stillness, and courage in calm. Every loud victory is born from 1,000 silent decisions to try again, to improve, to stay consistent, to believe, to rise after every fall. Success is not a single event. It's a collection of quiet moments stitched together by persistence. It's what happens when you choose growth over comfort, faith over fear, and discipline over doubt. Every champion, every visionary, every great mind has spent countless hours in silence building their dream long before the world ever saw it. When you're in those quiet moments, it's easy to feel invisible. It's easy to wonder if what you're doing even matters. But that's the test. That's where destiny watches to see if you'll keep going without recognition. Because if you can stay faithful in silence, you'll be unstoppable in success. The quiet is where life asks, do you really want this? It's where you prove your commitment, not with words, but with consistency. You see, noise is temporary, but discipline lasts. The crowd will come and go, but the habits you build in silence will carry you through every storm. The world might doubt you, but the quiet moments are where you learn to believe in yourself again. That's where you build mental toughness emotional control, and spiritual clarity. That's where you sharpen your vision until it becomes unshakable. Quiet moments are not wasted time. They are sacred preparation. They are the hours when you're shaping your story, even if nobody's reading it yet. They are where you learn who you are without applause, without recognition, without validation. That's where authenticity is forged. Because when you can face silence without fear, when you can find peace in your own company, when you can push yourself without needing a cheerleader, you become unstoppable. Every loud victory comes from someone who learned how to work in silence. They learned how to embrace the grind, how to sit in solitude and strategize, how to turn setbacks into lessons. They learned that success isn't about being seen, it's about being prepared. The quiet builds your confidence not because someone told you you're good enough, but because you know what you've invested, you know what you've sacrificed, you know how many nights you've stayed awake, how many doubts you've conquered, how many times you've started over. That kind of quiet preparation makes your victory undeniable. There's something powerful about choosing silence when you could speak, about working when others are watching TV, about planning when others are wasting time. Those moments don't feel glamorous. They feel lonely. They feel unseen. But that's where the fire grows. That's where your foundation is laid. That's where you learn that greatness doesn't happen overnight. It happens over many quiet nights when you decide not to give up. The world may measure your success by what it sees, but real success is measured by what you do when nobody's looking. The unseen effort, the silent battles, the internal victories, those are the true achievement. Every loud success story has a silent chapter nobody talks about, the chapter filled with doubt, discipline, and determination. If you can stay strong in that chapter, the rest of the story will write itself. Quiet moments shape your mindset. They teach you how to think clearly, how to manage your emotions, how to focus on the long game. When you stop chasing noise, you start building depth. You stop trying to impress and start trying to improve. You stop comparing and start creating. That's where transformation happens, in the moments when you choose stillness over speed, purpose over popularity, focus over distraction. Even nature reflects this truth. The tallest trees grow in silence. The strongest roots form underground, hidden from sight. The most beautiful sunrise happens after the darkest night. Everything powerful begins quietly. Your life is no different. The louder your destiny, the quieter your preparation must be. Quiet moments are where dreams mature. They are where you plan, visualize, and reimagine your life. They are where you remind yourself why you started. They are where you build the mental muscle to withstand the noise that will come when your victory becomes loud. Because once you succeed, the world will talk, but until then, let your silence speak for you. Let your discipline echo louder than your words. Let your results be the sound that follows your quiet persistence. There's a certain peace that comes when you realize you don't need to prove anything to anyone. You're no longer running after applause, you're running toward purpose. You're no longer addicted to attention, you're addicted to growth. That shift happens in silence. It's in the quiet that you outgrow old versions of yourself. It's in the quiet that you let go of who you were to become who you're meant to be. So embrace the quiet, honor it, let it shape you, because those quiet moments, the ones that seem small and unseen, are the ones writing the story of your loudest, proudest victories. Your peace is your power. In a world that constantly pulls your attention, tests your patience, and challenges your confidence, the one thing that will set you apart is your ability to stay calm when everything around you is in chaos. Peace isn't something that just happens. It's something you build, something you protect, something you fight for every single day. Most people underestimate the strength it takes to stay peaceful in a world that thrives on noise and distraction. They think peace is passive, that it means you're not doing enough, not fighting enough, not ambitious enough. But peace is not the absence of action, it's the presence of control. It's the quiet strength that allows you to respond instead of react, to think instead of panic, to trust instead of fear. Peace is what keeps you grounded when life tries to shake you. It's what keeps you focused when distractions come from every direction. It's what reminds you of your purpose when the world tries to pull you off course. When you have peace, you have clarity. You can see through the fog, you can hear your intuition, and you can make decisions from strength instead of insecurity. That's where your power lies, not in shouting, not in proving, not in controlling, but in staying calm enough to lead your own mind. People will always test your peace. Circumstances will challenge it. Relationships will stretch it. Failures will threaten it. But every time you choose calm over chaos, every time you choose to breathe instead of break, you grow stronger. The real test of maturity isn't how you act when everything goes right. It's how you respond when everything goes wrong. Anyone can be calm in comfort, but peace in the middle of pressure, that's where true power shows itself. That's where leadership is born. That's where strength is revealed. You see, power doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's the quiet confidence that says, I know who I am, I know where I'm going, and I refuse to let anything steal my focus. That's what peace gives you, a foundation that no storm can destroy. Because storms will come, people will disappoint you, plans will fall apart, but if your peace depends on circumstances, you'll always be at the mercy of the world. When your peace is internal, nothing external can control you. You become untouchable, not because life stops being hard, but because you stop being moved by everything that happens. Peace teaches you emotional intelligence. It shows you that not every battle deserves your energy, not every insult deserves a reaction, and not every situation needs your presence. The moment you stop trying to control what's outside of you and start mastering what's inside, that's when life begins to shift. You stop reacting to negativity, you stop feeding drama, and you stop wasting time on things that don't align with your purpose. You realize your energy is sacred, and peace is how you protect it. When you protect your peace, you protect your potential. Because you can't think clearly when your mind is full of chaos. You can't hear your calling when you're constantly surrounded by noise. You can't grow when you're fighting battles that don't belong to you. Peace gives you the space to think, to breathe, to realign. It allows you to rise above situations instead of being trapped within them. It's not about avoiding challenges. It's about facing them with a steady spirit and a quiet mind. Some of the most powerful people you'll ever meet are not the loudest ones in the room. They're the ones who carry calmness like armor. They don't react out of emotion. They respond out of wisdom. They've learned that real control is not about dominating others, it's about mastering themselves. That's what peace does. It gives you control over your reactions, your emotions, and your energy. It helps you stay in command of your life when everything else seems out of order. Peace gives you perspective. When your mind is calm, you see things as they are, not as your fear paints them to be. You stop exaggerating problems, and you start finding solutions. You stop focusing on what you can't change, and you start working on what you can. You stop being a prisoner of your thoughts and become a leader of them. That's what makes peace powerful. It gives you the clarity to move forward without being pulled backward by panic. It's easy to get caught up in the noise, the opinions, the pressure, the chaos of the world. But peace is your filter. It helps you separate what matters from what doesn't. It teaches you that not every fight is worth your attention, and not every opinion deserves your response. When you learn to choose peace over pride, you win in silence. You stop wasting energy trying to prove your worth because you already know it. You stop chasing validation because you've found confidence in your calm. Your peace is your protection. It shields you from burnout, from overthinking, from emotional exhaustion. It gives you the ability to step back, to observe without judgment, and to act with purpose. When you protect your peace, you protect your health, your relationships, your focus, your creativity. You can't pour from an empty cup, and peace is how you refill it. The more you stay centered, the more you attract balance in every area of your life. People may not understand your calmness. They may mistake it for weakness, for disinterest, for detachment. But peace isn't about not caring, it's about caring wisely. It's about choosing battles that matter, investing energy where it counts, and walking away from things that drain your spirit. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. You can't grow in constant noise. You can't evolve when you're always reacting. Peace is what allows you to grow with intention instead of survival. When you start valuing peace, you'll notice that your priorities shift. You'll stop chasing chaos disguised as excitement. You'll stop tolerating inconsistency just to feel connection. You'll stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You'll start setting boundaries not out of anger but out of self-respect. You'll realize that peace is not found, it's created, moment by moment, decision by decision. The path to peace begins with awareness. It begins when you notice what disturbs you and make the choice to step away from it. It begins when you learn to pause before reacting, to breathe before speaking, to think before deciding. The more you practice peace, the stronger it becomes. It's like a muscle. The more you use it, the more control you gain over yourself. Your peace is your anchor in a storm. It keeps you from being tossed around by the opinions of others, by the ups and downs of life, by the uncertainty of the future. When you operate from peace, you operate from strength. You make better choices. You attract better people. You live with greater purpose, because peace gives you the clarity to see what's right and the courage to walk away from what's wrong. Don't let the world make you think peace is boring. Peace is power under control. It's knowing that you can, but choosing not to. It's having the ability to destroy, but deciding to build. It's the difference between chaos and command. Peace doesn't mean nothing is happening. It means everything is happening and you are still in charge of yourself. That's real power. When you have peace, you become unshakable. People can talk, storms can come, doors can close, but you don't lose your balance. You stand firm because your peace doesn't depend on what happens, it depends on what you decide. The most powerful thing you can ever master is not the world, but your response to it. And that mastery begins the moment you realize that your peace is your greatest form of power. Still minds see what rushing hearts miss. In a world that glorifies speed, where everyone is racing to be seen, to be first, to be heard, there lies an unspoken truth. The real breakthroughs come from stillness. The world teaches you to move fast, to always be doing something, to always be in motion, as if slowing down means falling behind. But the truth is, when you're rushing through life, you miss the details that could change everything. You miss the lessons hidden in silence, the opportunities disguised in waiting, the wisdom that only a still mind can see. The faster you move without awareness, the more likely you are to repeat the same mistakes. A still mind doesn't mean a passive one. It means a powerful one, focused, clear, and aware. When your mind is still, your vision sharpens. You start noticing things others overlook. You begin to hear the quiet messages that life sends through intuition, through feeling, through timing. When you slow down enough to listen, you begin to understand that not everything requires an immediate reaction. Not every emotion deserves expression. Not every situation demands movement. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is wait, observe, and understand. A still mind allows you to see beyond the surface, beyond the chaos, beyond the illusion of urgency that makes most people restless and unfocused. People who rush often act from fear of missing out, fear of failure, fear of not being enough. They believe that speed equals success, but speed without direction is chaos. Motion without meaning is exhaustion. When you take the time to still your thoughts, you stop reacting and start responding. You stop running aimlessly and start moving intentionally. You begin to make choices from clarity instead of confusion. That's what separates the wise from the restless, the ability to pause long enough to see clearly. A still mind gives you power over pressure. When everything around you seems to demand urgency, a still mind gives you space to breathe, to think, to decide. It gives you control over your energy so that you don't pour it into the wrong places. It's easy to let emotions rush you into actions you'll regret later. It's easy to let the noise of others make you question your own path. But when your mind is still, you're no longer a slave to the moment. You become the master of it. You can see the situation for what it truly is, not what fear makes it seem. When your heart is rushing, you lose perspective. You focus on what's immediate instead of what's important. You get caught up in small frustrations and miss the bigger picture. Stillness allows you to zoom out, to step back and view life from a higher angle. You start realizing that not everything deserves a reaction, that patience is not weakness, that slowing down is not losing its strategic. Because what you see clearly, you can handle wisely, and what you handle wisely, you can transform completely. A still mind also gives you access to creativity. The best ideas don't come when you're overwhelmed. They come when you're quiet enough to listen to inspiration. Great artists, thinkers, and innovators have always understood this, that creativity is born in silence. When your thoughts are racing, you can't connect the dots. But when your mind is calm, ideas start flowing naturally. You see possibilities where others see problems. You find patterns in the noise. You begin to trust the process instead of forcing the outcome. Stillness teaches you patience, not the kind that waits passively, but the kind that watches actively. It's a form of awareness that keeps you grounded while everything around you changes. It allows you to grow without rushing, to evolve without panic, to trust without needing proof. Because when your mind is still, you know that everything unfolds at the right time. You stop forcing doors to open and start preparing yourself for when they do. You stop begging for clarity and start building the strength to wait for it. A rushing heart can't see clearly because it's clouded by urgency. It wants answers now, results now, validation now. But the most meaningful growth happens quietly, slowly, patiently. You don't see a tree grow, but one day it's taller. You don't hear your healing happening, but one day you feel lighter. You don't notice wisdom forming, but one day you respond differently to the same